enough.
Anyways, you said when it comes to the fatal attraction, fatal seduction, you're fatal for their bank accounts. Have you bankrupted any men?
Not yet, but I do have one that he's teetering on a very bad plane right now. He's not doing very well
because
financially.
He's financially supporting you.
Not supporting me.
Or
I mean,
well,
I bartend, so this is like supplemental income.
But he's teetering, and that's part of his financial insecurity is part of the kink or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're like, I don't know, true to the practice, then you're not really going to want to truly bankrupt someone. And again, I mean, this is all consensual. So like he has the freedom to close his laptop or block me or whatever if he really wants to.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Do you associate a person who would be willing to bankrupt themselves to be mentally ill?
I mean, possibly, but again...
So, like, aren't you kind of playing with mentally ill people?
I mean, we go over, like, consent
How
and,
can a mentally ill person consent?
I mean, I'm not here screening them for mental illness. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist.
Do you need to screen a person for mental illness if they want you to bankrupt them? Doesn't that scream not well?
I mean, it's a kink.
Yeah, I get it's a kink, but you can understand that even through a person's perceived kinks, that would maybe be a good sign of mental illness.
It could be, but that's really not my place to judge,
Well, I think it is your place to judge. If you're the one who says, "Send me the money" on behalf of your kink, and this could bankrupt you, who the hell else would be the judger here? Who else could make the judgment but you?
I mean, if they voice that opinion to me, maybe, and if we have like a good relationship. But again, like some of these guys will approach you and then just fuck off for like months, years. Sometimes they'll never come back.
Sure.
So it's like...
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm talking about this specific case. Got a guy who's teetering on the edge of bankruptcy.
I mean, I don't force him to send me any money.
I understand you're not forcing him to, but what I'm asking you is, if you have somebody who has the perception, at least a perception of mental illness, and you allow them to do thing X on your behalf knowing that they're mentally ill, how are you not responsible for that?
Well, I mean, then we'll have a conversation about that, but he has never come forth and said, I'm mentally ill. Again, it's a kink, so...
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to teeter on the edge of bankruptcy on purpose because it makes you fucking get off, right? Wouldn't that be a sign to a normal person that that person's not well upstairs?
It could be.
Just not to you?
I mean, again, like, it's really not, like, my responsibility to be monitoring someone's mental health. Again, if they bring it up to me and if they tell me that, this is enough, like, I've had enough, cool. Like, you know what I mean? But I'm not going to sit there and baby them. Like, this is a kink, a consensual kink. We're both adults. And if he's I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the BDSM community would qualify for mental illness. You know what I mean?
So there was a guy, let's say he was 55 years old. There was a woman who was 19, and she had a lower IQ. But she was considered an adult and functional member of society. And he was online, and they're both adults, and she was consenting, and he was having sex with her. Would you find that to be an appropriate relationship?
I mean, I think 19 is pretty young, and I really don't like engaging with anyone under 21 in terms of that anyway.
Okay,
so,
she's 21.
Yeah, I mean, repeat the question again?
Do you think that if she's kind of under average IQ, but she's still a functional member of society, she's still an adult, she's still consenting, right? She can consent to a car loan, she can consent to a cell phone bill, right? Do you have any issues with this guy taking advantage of her for sex?
I mean, I think it's fucked up. You're 55 years old.
Well,
trying
why?
to...
But that's his kink. He likes to take advantage
of
21-year-old girls and have sex, but he likes it. It gets him off. It's his favorite.
That's
so what's the
different.
problem? Well, it is. What's different about it?
I mean, you just said that she has a lower IQ, so I mean...
Do you think that this guy who sends you enough money to bankrupt himself has a high IQ?
I mean, he has a good job, so...
So the point is, though, is that she's still a consenting adult. It's not his responsibility to worry about her IQ, right?
I mean, I guess you make a fair point. Again, I don't really care.
But in that case, do you think he should care?
Sure, if he wants to care, then care.
You
But
don't think that that's a
again,
double standard?
I mean, I've talked to him for 6 months now, more than that, longer than that, and we've had, personal conversations, we've had kink-based conversations, and when he tells me he doesn't have money to send, I don't make him send it. So, and he'll send me like a small amount or something for coffee.
So
when
imagine
he's
this
broke.
going back the other direction of, yeah, he's 50, and she's a little bit low IQ, but she's a consenting adult. It's not for him to worry about whether or not she's under IQ or not, because she can consent, right? She can consent. And so, the thing is he just doesn't really worry about what might happen to her as a position of him sleeping with this woman who is 21 while he's 50, or 19 while he's 50, and who has a lower than average IQ. He just shouldn't worry about it because she can consent. Does that sound reasonable to you?
I mean, it's a different situation. Again, you have a baseline conversation when you accept the submissive into your life. You
He
go
did-
over
he- so he
terms
did
and
that.
conditions.
Yep, he did that. He's like, look, I don't give a shit about your IQ. I just want to have sex with you. And she's like, okay.
Vanek donated $200. Not sure if Redhead's too stupid to understand the depth of her evil, or she doesn't just likes it.
Okay.
I encourage viewers to pray for her, but more importantly, her victims, as she's a literal predator.
Yeah, so let's go through go through this. So they agree to this. They've agreed. They're both
There's one
consenting.
more coming in, just FYI. Sorry, guys. One sec. We're letting the TTS come through.
John Slater, 1990, donated $200. Hey, Brian, just wanted to drop you some support. You get a
Thank you,
lot of
John.
hate, but you're a good guy and one of the few who advocate for men.
Oh, thank you,
You
man.
deal with a lot, both on and off the show, so
true.
cheers to you.
John Slater, thank you for the TTS, man. Also, Giovanni, thank you for the TTS. Yeah, a lot of stuff goes on behind the scenes, that we don't really talk about. But thank you, John Slater. Really appreciate your support. Thank you, man. Go ahead, Andrew.
So anyway, yeah, so they both consent. So that part, they had the conversation. They're both consenting. She is an adult. She is a functional member of society. She's just kind of dumb.
Okay, I mean,
Not his responsibility, right?
Don't dumb people need sex too, though?
okay, fair.
No responsibility,
enough,
right?
but-
Mentally ill people need to get some.
I mean,
But
again, I'm a
would that
financial
give you-
dominatrix, so obviously I have some responsibility in it. But again, I'm not sitting there forcing them. I'm not.
Neither is he in this
I'm not
situation.
approaching them like they approach me.
That's so. Imagine a guy saying this exact same thing.
But he's a
I
man.
didn't force her.
How's
I'm
that
not
different
telling
then?
her she has to. I'm not doing any of that. She's consensually at 21 with her low IQ sleeping with me. What's the problem here?
He's a man taking advantage, and he's 55, and he has.
He's taking advantage. Are you taking advantage?
I mean, sure, you could look at it like that.
So then I don't see how you can make the moral equivalent, say he's doing something wrong, if you would not accept that you yourself also are doing something wrong.
Do you think?
No, I
that-
think she accepts that she's doing something wrong.
That's I want to hear from her.
Oh, okay.
Sure, I accept that I'm doing something wrong.
Okay.
But she doesn't care.
Yeah, it doesn't care.
Doesn't.
Well, it can't be
doesn't care.
quotes if you actually do think that, right? Then it's not wrong. It would just be wrong, right?
Sure.
Okay.
I have a question. Do you continue the relationships if they're not paying?
I
Or is
mean,
it-
like,
'cause you're saying it's not forced. You're not forcing them to pay, but then
No,
do you
no.
continue talking to them if they're not paying?
I mean, if they've sent a good amount, like they're my submissive, and I've taken them on as that, then sure, I'll talk to them.
All right.
What do you think society would say to a guy who was openly having a relationship like that with a 21-year-old? How do you think they would judge him? Just society in general.
They would tar and feather him. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, what do you think they would do?
I think a big factor to consider in the hypothetical situation is the age gap, because what's the age gap between you and this guy?
He's like 47, and I'm 26.
Okay, that's something to consider.
Still
at
a
least.
massive age gap.
Yeah.
But the question I'm just asking, what do you think the perception would be?
I already said it would be a bad
It would
perception.
be a bad perception. Why do you think it would be that way?
Because men have a bad reputation for a good reason.
Well, I mean, I literally have not heard yet a man, not once yet, tell me that they have teetered women on the brink of financial ruin and they don't give a shit. I have not heard that one time. But I have heard this story that you're telling me dozens of times on this show.
Yeah, I think you're omitting the fact, though, that, again, it's a kink, and I'm being approached, and this is what I do. Like,
Yeah, but in that case, it would just be a kink.
there's plenty of kinks out there that people would view as taboo and wrong, and people still do them anyway.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't mean that they're correct. So this idea of saying, well, it doesn't matter because it's a kink, though.
What is correct
well, we
to you,
apply that
though?
to them.
I mean, I think correct is a very subjective word.
Do you think that morality itself is subjective?
I mean, yeah.
Well, then if morality itself is subjective, then why would you ever get mad about what anybody ever does at any time, at any place, anywhere?
Sure.
Like a serial killer. What's wrong with that? Subjective. Subjective.
I mean, you're reaching right now,
Why?
but
Is it subjective or objective?
I mean, a serial killer, like,
I mean, yeah,
they're-
serial killers. It's subjective or objective? If it's all subjective and it's all just moral relativism, then you could never make a judgment, a value judgment on a serial killer being bad, because that's just relative, right?
Sure.
So then, yeah, I don't really know this idea of it's subjective. It doesn't mean much to me. That just means you're saying that there is no standard for morality at all, when clearly you don't think that.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't say, you'd say it's okay to be a serial killer, right?
I mean, I think we all know the answer to that. It's not okay to be a serial killer.
Why not? If it's just subjective.
Because it's morally wrong. Like, and
So then-
these are my morals. So
So, but from
everyone
there-
has different values.
So if it's just your morals versus their morals, subjective, then from his standard, the serial killer, they're not doing anything wrong, right?
Well, he's a serial killer. Obviously, he doesn't think he's doing anything wrong. He's doing it.
So you have no standard from which to say he's doing anything immoral, right?
I'm not.
Negative
not?
_200 donated.